Listen, if you're looking for me, baby, I ain't hard to find. Nah, a disclaimer. I will never claim to know everything about everybody. I will never claim to know everything, period. But what I am a master at is discernment, and let's talk about it. As you all know, I am an author. My book is entitled Faith, Family, Freedom, The Rosie Experience. I self-published it on the Barnes & Noble website, and I also just recently got offered a movie deal for it. So be looking out 2025, Faith, Family, Freedom, the movie. But anyways, I'm a domestic violence survivor. I am a survivor of childhood trauma, of sexual abuse, of all the things, infertility. There's not one thing you could think of that hasn't happened to me. Probably some things you could think of. Let me take that back. But a lot of things that you could think of have happened to me. But with that, God gave me grace and God opened my eyes throughout the whole process. I recently gave my life to God in 2021. I didn't fully surrender until 2022 because I didn't understand that I wasn't fully surrendered. But in September of 2021, I left all of my belongings and I put my kids in the car and I drove for 4 hours, almost 4 hours, because their father broke my ribs and I knew that if I stayed, I would have died because he had already broke my jaw 2 years prior. So I chose me. I chose my kids' safety over a toxic situation. With that being said, as I stated earlier, I've always been a master of discernment. So, good morning, baby. So there's a lot of things that have happened in my life and in the lives of people that I love that I was able to discern and that I really held on to, and it kind of cultivated the way that I viewed the world. With that being said, I don't look at anybody like they're a bad person, but there are a lot of bad tendencies and a lot of bad things that we all possess or used to possess, and that cultivated my mind frame to be what it was and why I accepted the things that I accepted from the men that I accepted it from. I have an ex-husband and an ex-boyfriend. I have a child with my ex-husband and 3 children with my ex-boyfriend. And I'm also raising my sister's son, so I got 5 kids. And I'm doing this alone in a state that I'm not from, with nobody living with me, with nobody that's helping me take care of these kids. God is doing the thing. He's doing it. He's doing all the things. But there is so much that happened to get me to this breaking point, to get me to the point where I just had to remove myself completely from family, from my children's father, from friends, from literally my whole life. I'm never going to claim to know your whole story, but I've always been the person that a lot of people have confided in for the simple fact that I do not give a one-sided opinion. I don't judge people. When people tell me their story, I look at things from, okay, the other person's past, your childhood, your parent, da-da-da-da. Like, I go deep into it. I'm a very intellectual thinker. So I give people perspectives that they would have never had they not talked to me. The Rosie Experience. And my book might offend people. And let me tell you why. If you don't actually read my book, the little snippets that you read are going to offend you. If you don't actually read my book, the little snippets when I record myself reading a couple of pages are going to offend you. Because just like the Bible, you got to actually read the whole chapter to understand where I'm coming from. You can't just read a couple of sentences or hear me read a couple of paragraphs and then assume that you understand where my heart was at. Because the next paragraph might just be me explaining why my heart was there in that other paragraph. I just want people to understand that the Rosie Experience is not something that can be stopped. It is not something that anybody negating my experience is going to stop, is going to cultivate, is going to change. It is what it is. It's written in plain sight. It's available for purchase online. It's about to be turned into a movie. It is touching so many people. I have thousands, tens of thousands of followers. And it's touching my people. It's touching God's people. And if you're not personally moved by my story, it's because you haven't actually tapped into my story. You have a preconceived notion based off of things that you think you know. But you don't know my heart unless you read my book. Because in my book, God actually wrote that book for me. And he took me back to every situation so that I could explain where my heart was at that moment. And how I could explain where my heart was at as the 31-year-old who wrote the book. I'm 32 now. I wrote the book when I was 31. God opened my heart and my mind, and my goal for this book is to show other women and men that your mindset is what determines your life. It don't matter what happened to you when you was a kid. It affects you, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the here and the now. And right here and right now, you are a grown adult making childish decisions based off of trauma that happened to you as a kid that you never dealt with. So deal with it. You don't get to put your hands on people just because you used to get hands put on you when you were a kid. You don't get to downgrade people and make them want to end their life just because people downgraded you your whole life. You don't get to be an ugly demon on this earth and think that you're still going to inherit heaven. But with that being said, if somebody is targeting you, you don't have to sit around them and allow it. You don't have to be a victim. Victim mentality is all up here, but it controls all of this. If you don't get this right, this will be controlled for the rest of your life. The decision is yours. But don't look back in my book and think that that's the reason that your life is the way that it is. Also, don't look back at my book and think that I have anything negative to think or say about you, because I love everybody. There's not one person mentioned in my book that I don't love. Even the men who did what they did to me. I love everybody. I love God's children. We are all God's children. I love y'all. But I will never give you the opportunity to put me in the same mental state that you had me in for so long. I will never give you the opportunity to touch me again. But I still love you. Make sure that you love yourself. God bless you.